Hey everybody, back with another video here. This is my millipede. I'm looking at the thing in the back. This is my missile command, and I would say probably a month ago it went down, and I've checked the power supply, and I have the board at my bench, and that's what we're going to work on today, trying to hopefully get this millipede back up and working so I can play it again. Alright, here it is, the millipede board at the bench. I have actually this Braze kit inserted, always had that, and these ROMs don't look all original. I might remove those. I don't know if this is a ROM saver or not, but I might end up removing those ROMs anyway. Looks like I haven't really messed with this board much since getting the game, and it looks like at least one memory chip was replaced. I don't see too many other sockets there. Hopefully, yeah, you can see that. One thing I did notice though, and I already have things hooked up here, is that somebody had soldered a little wire onto the ground there, as well as something onto R73, and that was cut off. So I don't know, is that for 12 volts? I don't know what that is. I'll have to look to see what that was for and why they did that. I have hooked up, just like on the Centipede board, I'm hooked up to black and white video. Sorry, there's a little shadow there. Out there. I think this should be composite black and white video out. I'll have to check the schematic. And I'm hooked up to my two audio connections as well as for a speaker. I got my 5 volts hooked up, my -5 and ground, and my +12 all hooked up there. So everything I need, I think, to get this board working. Yeah, that's interesting. It looks like these maybe were where the video amplifiers were going to be, but they don't actually have video amplifiers on here. I don't know. I don't know if that's what the Centipede board was either. I need to look into that a little bit more. Now I'm curious, because this part right here is vacated. That's interesting. I think that's it. We'll power it on. I'll put it on the tripod and power it on and check with the scope. We'll check clock and the reset signal first, and then show you what we get on the screen. Actually, I find it easier just to hold the camera here so you guys can see real close what I'm doing. If you don't like this and you'd rather have it more stable on the tripod, let me know. I'll change it, but we're going to go ahead and power it up. And that is what we're getting on the screen. Definitely looks like garbage or resetting or something, just the way it's flashing like that. If I check our clock pin, we're getting 1.16 megahertz, and I would assume that's good. I can check. I think there's a couple clocks somewhere. Okay, over here we have in the sync section, we got a 5 megahertz clock and a 10 megahertz clock, and those are pretty good, I would say. So we know our clock signal's good, and if I come to pin 40, a reset pin, that's pretty much what it looks like if it's resetting. Now, if I change it, I'm at like 2.2 microseconds or 0.1. If I come all the way down into like the millisecond range, like 1 millisecond per division, and I look at the reset signal, no, that's still not good enough. Let me come in. This is should be 10 milliseconds. And you can kind of see the transition to high and low there. So we know that it's definitely resetting. This is milliseconds, yeah. So this is like actually slower. You can see it toggling. But microseconds, I guess, is just too fast for it. Alright. Anyway, so yes, we know it's resetting. And just to show you with the logic probe as well, a little bit easier to see that it's resetting. So based off of what I've learned recently, we can disable the Watchdog circuit. So we know that it's watchdogging. Not sure why. It could be the initial reset circuit itself is not working. Maybe the reset circuit's not working. The other thing I noticed is the reset, if you can see that, the reset test point is gone. And I have a replacement for that. I might look at I assume that should have been on there. I might put that back in. But maybe some work was done in the reset circuit area. I'm going to have to look at that. I don't know why that would be gone. I'm also going to remove Okay, I've removed all of the ROMs because I have the Braze kit here, which should have, not require the ROMs, but I might have to look that up to be sure. Let's power it on real quick. Check our reset circuit, and it's high, so the CPU is no longer resetting, which is interesting, but I still get something. I don't know what's going on the screen. Doesn't look, I don't know if that's the Braze kit doing a check. I wonder if the CPU is good, or if something happened. Or maybe the socket or something. I'll press on it a little bit, see if I get any different results. Not really. Yeah, the clock seems to be okay still. I'm not sure. Okay, so we're not in reset at least, or it's not resetting, but it's not running any code either. So let me investigate the Braze kit. Maybe it does require some of these ROMs. I'm not sure, but why wouldn't it be watchdogging? Or maybe it does. Let me just hold on to this reset here for a while and see if it ever transitions. Nope. Doesn't seem like it ever transitions at all. Interesting. There is a Watchdog disable somewhere over here, so I will investigate some more and come back. Okay. If you see it, it looks like it's flashing, like it's doing something from a diagnostic standpoint. I just see the screen flashing a certain number of times and then it starts over. So, and I have a speaker wired up, but I'm not getting any sound. So what I want to do is I'm just going to put this back in the cabinet real quick. Now that it's not obviously resetting, and see what we get. I don't know, it just seems like that might be a RAM issue based off of that screen flashing like that. I don't think the Braze kit should work that way, but the other thing I wanted to do is I'm going to clean up these ROMs and test them. They're definitely, you can see that hopefully. They're not in the greatest shape. There's a lot of corrosion. I already cleaned up like this one here using a Dremel and an eraser. So I'm going to clean those up too. And I might as well replace these Atari sockets. They actually look okay, but I don't know. I might just replace these sockets and get the board working without the Braze kit as well. I think I'm going to do some signature analysis if this doesn't work in the cabinet. I figured out what this is right here. This, whatever they soldered a piece of wire onto R73 and this to ground. I don't know exactly why the ground one was there, but R73, if you can see that, is in the sink section right there, hanging off of the vertical sink going to 5 volts. So I don't know why they did that. Maybe they had a monitor that just wanted vertical sync, or I don't know why they just wouldn't pull it directly from the existing wire harness. It doesn't make any sense. Unless is there negative sync? Be interesting if that's positive or negative, but whatever. I'm going to put it in the cabinet. Alright, getting the same thing here in the cabinet, except for it's different colors: green, red, green, green. Totally have no idea. I have to research this or something. Kind of wacky. And I'm getting no sound, so no beeps in test mode, and it's doing this whether it's in test mode or not. So I just okay, now I thought about how I wanted to test this, and I figured what I'd do is I would test these ROMs in my EEPROM reader burner, and I was getting different results. And these two actually weren't even making, I wasn't even able to read these in my Advin. One of them I was able to read in my TL866. I don't get that, but these two I couldn't read in my Advin, so maybe the Advin's doing a better continuity pin check or something, but it just it kept on reporting that the chip was not present. So I went ahead and burned 2 replacement ROMs for those, and the others verified okay, and I cleaned all the pins, the legs, chip legs, and stuff like that. And then I figured, because it was reseating when I had these in there, as well as the Braze kit, I just removed the Braze kit, put the CPU back in the socket, powered it on, and we just have a solid white screen, but we are not in reset anymore. So I have it's not in reset, and I'm actually getting stuff, on the data lines, etc., but I'm not seeing anything from a video standpoint. I don't know why that is, but it looks like the thing is running. But if I try to go into test mode, I don't hear any beeps or anything. So I'm thinking I'm going to go try to put it back into the cabinet as it is right now, because it looks like the thing is running, even though we don't see anything via the black and white composite out hook up there. So I just figured I'll go put this in the cabinet real quick and see what we get there. And I did reseat the pokey and stuff. I don't think, it's hard to tell if I haven't used any other probing around yet. So let me just go put this in the cab. We're at the cab. Let me go ahead and, I think, power this thing on. Well, that's not good. It's pretty noisy. Alright, getting some noises now when I put it in the cabinet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, I have it back on the bench, and I'm still confused why I'm not getting any audio, even though it's not amplified. It's pre-amplified, and I'm not getting anything on that speaker. I might need to hook up an audio amp to make sure. I might do some looking into that, I'm not sure. But anyway, hopefully you can see this. I brought up the Diagnostics on here, and it says you should get 5 seconds of frozen attract mode, a low raspy tone followed by a low beep and then a high beep. So we are getting that, a low beep and then a high beep, and then you will get a low beep for each good chip followed by a high beep for a bad RAM, and we get 6 low beeps, but we never hear the high beep. But we get 6 low, and maybe it's just not producing the high sound. I don't know. Maybe the pokey or I don't know what's going on there. But I suspect H4 as a bad RAM at this point. So if you can see that right there. And H4 happens to be the one that's already socketed. So I'm wondering if they've had this issue before. I can pull this chip out easily and test to see if it's good or not. I will do that. Alright, I don't know exactly where I left off, so hopefully this makes sense. But anyway, I took a break from looking at the board, and I have been excited to try to learn and use a signature analyzer. But anyway, I took a step back, and the first thing is, I don't know if every time I was testing it, if I had my shoot, this is -5 and +12 hooked up, but because the RAMs are 4116, you definitely need -5 and +12 because these are tri-voltage RAMs. So that's one thing is I wasn't consistent. I don't know. I have to go back and watch the video if I was using that the whole time. Wouldn't have mattered for the signature analysis stuff, but would have mattered if during troubleshooting like the reset issue, obviously, because if you're not powering up RAM, it's going to be resetting. So anyway, I removed, because I was doing a lot of things, and I removed the ROMs and put the Braze kit back in, and then I just will power it on here real quick. And this is consistently what we're getting here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it resets, and then I guess it's a low and then a high, and then it goes into the 6 again. So I believe that's the RAM test, just like we saw the colors flashing earlier. I believe that's the RAM test, and it says it's failing, I guess, on number 7, but you don't see the high beep or whatever, and so it's misleading me a little bit. But I tried to replace, it was already socketed, and I replaced that RAM. It didn't make any difference. The other thing is, yeah, so I think it goes in order. So it goes like this. When it's testing the RAM, it goes P4, then N4, then H4, L4, K4, J4. So it's 1, if you're here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the 6 RAM, 7, 8. And that's all 8 DRAMs in the system right there. So I guess what I did is I broke out my scope, and I was like, let me just go ahead and look at this real quick. Hopefully I don't short anything out here. And look at the inputs and outputs on these. So the data input coming into the RAM is pin 2. If you can see that, you can see I have activity there. And then I would go to the output, which is pin 14. No, 13. 16, 15, 14. Yeah, I think it's 14. Pin 14 there. And we have output, and it's almost at a full 5 volts too. Yeah. So then I went through and I was checking all of these. So I started from P4, and I got to N4. And if I look at pin 2, I have, transitions there. I have data basically coming into the RAM, and I have note. But on pin 14, it's stuck high, and so I knew that RAM was suspect. So the diag, or whatever the test code's running, is giving some false, information, I guess. But thankfully, it was relatively easy, or so far it seems like it's relatively easy. So I'm just going to piggyback a RAM real quick onto that, even though if you can see this with good enough light, you can see that there's a lot of oxidation on the pins themselves of the RAM chips. So this piggybacking this isn't going to be great anyway. It's not a great solution or test, but sometimes you can get it to change behavior, which would be good. So I powered the board off. Going to power it back on, and I'm getting a little bit of different readings there. Something different is happening. Yeah, see, so I'm getting some type of different activity, and actually when I did it before, I actually got missile command to come up. So let me try again. See if I can. Actually, when I did it before I started filming, I actually got missile command to come up. So I'm wondering if I'm in reset now. But anyway, I still think that RAM's bad. No, I'm good. My reset line's good, so I still think something's funky with that RAM or whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and replace that RAM and then come back and see what it looks like. All right, I kind of got it to, man, will it show it again? Let's see. Yeah, there we go. You see, that's what I got when I piggybacked the RAM the first time. So I actually cleaned up some of the pins just so I could show you guys that. So the fact that I got something different when I was piggybacking it is why I want to go ahead and replace that RAM. So as you can see there, it's definitely doing something better now. All right, the other thing, I learned my lesson trying to replace this LS whatever I did here when I did that bodge job. I am going to go ahead and clip these legs and then remove the IC that way. It makes it a lot easier because I can heat up from underneath of it. I'm not going to actually demonstrate this, but if you know the chip is bad and you're not trying to save it, this is the way to go, I think, even with a desoldering iron, because sometimes you can jack up the pads underneath of this, and this is the easiest way to do it, is go ahead and clip the legs out, and that way you can heat them up from the bottom and then pull them out and then suck the solder holes out. It's a lot easier way to get these removed cleanly. So if you know you're going to replace the chip, I would suggest go ahead and clipping the legs and then pulling out each leg one by one. I'm not going to demonstrate it, I'm just telling you. Alright, so I have that replaced at what is that, N4? Yeah, N4 is what I have replaced right there. And we're making progress, but not too much, I don't think. Let's see. I don't know if this is just the bench setup or what, but that looks kind of weird, right? I don't know exactly what's going on there. It's like a double image or something. Something's weird going on. That's what I'm getting on the screen. I might put it in the cabinet just to see what it does in the cabinet. But I've grounded the test switch here. It's definitely not resetting, even though it looks like it might be. That's the reset signal. So that looks good. And I know I'm doing this by hand right now because it's just a little bit easier to kind of show you guys what's going on. This is me booting it up in test mode. And I kind of get something. It says RAM okay, ROM okay, Pokey okay, but I'm getting a double image, at least when I'm connected to this black and white video. So let me go and hook this up in the cabinet and see what we get. I think I have test switch up. I had to rewire, you can't see it, I had to rewire my pot there for a different reason, but okay, we're going to power it on. I have no idea what those sounds are talking about. So that's interesting. The manual doesn't mention that tone like that. It looks like it says Pokey okay, RAM okay, ROM okay, map bad, I think is what you see here. Yeah, I'm thinking that says map bad, MAP bad, which is the bitmap error. It says Pokey's okay. Maybe those tones is the Pokey getting played. It doesn't mention that in the manual, but this is the Braze kit, so I'd have to go back. Maybe he put that in there to test the Pokey there, and maybe the high score. So this must be, I wasn't thinking right, this must be the Braze enhanced troubleshooting or diagnostic. So press player 1 and 2 to enter something. Huh. Alright, well anyway, I think we have bad. Yeah, it says map bad. That's what I'm going to go off of. We're getting close. Just so you know, this was working for like several years, and then all of a sudden one night I had the arcade on and it just stopped. It just had like red on the screen or something crazy, so I powered it off and hadn't had a chance to look at it. So this was a fully working board. Nothing was wrong with it. Obviously now we have a bad RAM and something else went out on it.